Hi guys. Yeah, Jobs underscore tricks here. Hope you're all doing good and you're good and you're prepping for your semester test or your test, whatever. So, on this video, I made this video specifically for those who are struggling to answer this practical too, or maybe they've started, they don't know how to end it, or some don't even know how to start. Hey, and then I'm just going to explain. I won't be doing or answering or coding even. I'm just going to give you guys light in your channels if there are no lights at all, so at least you know where to go. Yeah, get it. So this practical might seem big, but it's not actually big. It's small in a way, and then maybe you'll understand once I start explaining. Well, just now. So obviously the difference between your practicals or your IFM and my IFM, computer science IFM, is that yours will contain more of the accounting type of vibes in it, as it was just random things, calculating about silly things actually. So yours will contain more of common stuff than ours. That's the only difference. I'm guessing comments shouldn't be something hard for you guys, since it's your ability or your ability and skills that you develop in accountancy or whatever that you're doing. So yes, I'm just going to explain. So let's start. So it says, well, the purpose of this is to review your arithmetic expressions and selection, where arithmetic will be your additions, adding of what are they called? These things, is it money? Yeah, adding of money and all those things. So this is upon or within your capabilities. It should be within your capabilities. Maybe this part might be not within, because it's the coding part actually. Selection, that's what you're going to be using if statement. So yes, and since we have given 1 week, obviously, which is for the following, and then the scenario says utopian savings and loan would like you to create a program which calculates a client credit risk grade for an application to their E to Z, or hey, whatever this says here. But then there's no necessary information or important information from this statement. The important information starts from here. One thing about when reading a scenario, you should be able to underline the inputs and the outputs and also the use cases, or use cases. Inputs, where is the information that you'll be getting from the user, and the output, which is the information that they are expected to output. The use cases would be the calculation or the manipulation of the input you got from the user, how you manipulated to get to your output. That's the use cases or the action in between. Hope that makes sense. So upon reading this, we're just gonna be helping you guys in order to capture the important things in this scenario. Hopefully it will help. I don't know. Anyways, it says a client's risk grade is calculated using the following from the application, which will be, this is also important. They're basically telling you the type of data type that your variables will be declared as, and then hence you're gonna be dealing with money. So money can be whole numbers. It's also gonna be decimals inside. So you're gonna be declaring your variables as double to accommodate the cents. Yes, the commas. Anyways, yes. So this is one of the important information you can gather from this statement, that your variables will be declared as a double, right? And then we move on. Then it says number one, the client's monthly income. You can't assume or know each and every person's client or each and every client's monthly income. So you're supposed to get this income, this part from the user. It serves as an input. So already when you're reading this, you go like, oh, so I'm gonna need a variable which will store a monthly income of a client, right? And then also it will be declared as a double because of this statement above. Hope it makes sense. Then we move on, and then it says the client's monthly fixed expenses. Obviously, in your head, you are thinking, okay, I'm gonna need another variable which will store the fixed expenses, the client's monthly fixed expenses, right? So you already have two variables now. Number 3 says the final total loan amount for the entire 1 year period. Again, in your head, you should just think, okay, I'm gonna need another variable which will store the total loan amount for the entire. Well, it's just gonna be total loan in this case. As long as you know what does the total loan is for, alright. In this case, it's for the entire 1 year period. This has already included interest for factored in and must be paid in 12 equal installments or whatsoever. Anyways, okay, also this is going to be important for later on, though, you'll see. And then yeah, so already you have deliverables. All the deliverables will be declared as doubles, right? So you're just picking this up even before you get to coding. You're already thinking in your head, okay, I'm gonna need deliverables for the input that you'll be getting from the user. Moving on, then we come to the use cases part, which is this part, long part here, right? So the first one says the calculation requires the client's disposable income to be determined, which is the difference between their monthly income and their monthly expense. Okay, so I'm gonna need a third variable here, which will be used to calculate the disposable income. And how do you do that? You take the monthly income and then you subtract it with the monthly expenses. That's how you get your disposable income. Well, the difference means minus, right? So this part here is the one that I say this part should be within your capabilities, because it's just basically taking money minusing, like calculations of money. So this part should be within your capabilities. It's just a matter of knowing that in order to make your calculations, there should be a variable where you're going to store that money that you're calculating, right? Which is the disposable income. So now you're going to be having 4 variables by now. The 3 will be the ones here, which will be used to take inputs from the user, right? Specifically monthly income, monthly fixed expenses, and total loan amount. Sharp. Now you're going to need the 4th one, which will be used to calculate the disposable income, right? So, and then it will also be declared as a double, hence you're dealing with money. Sharp. Going to the 5th variable, the monthly installment. How do you calculate it? They say you take the total loan, you divide it by 12, because 12 equal installment, then it gives you your monthly loan. So already in your head again you should think, okay, I'm gonna need a variable which will store that monthly installment. So yes, and then yeah, and then we move on. Then another 6th variable in this case. So the monthly total expenses are found by taking the sum of the monthly fixed expenses and then the monthly installment. So now you're gonna need a sixth variable which will be used to calculate the monthly total expenses. And how do you calculate that? You take the monthly fixed expenses which you got from the user, which is part of the input, and then you add with the monthly installment which you calculated above, right? And then it gives you the monthly total expenses. Hence, it's very important to declare these variables to store the information so you can manipulate them later. Anyways, so you move on now. This part says the client's repayment ratio must be determined according to the following ratio: monthly expenses to disposable income. Well, monthly to disposable meaning monthly expenses divided by disposable income. So already you should also think or know that you're gonna need a variable to store that repayment ratio. So you're gonna have to declare another variable again, which will specifically be for repayment ratio. How do you calculate that? You take your monthly total expenses that you calculated above, you divide by the disposable income, which you also calculated way above here, the first use case. Makes sense. Then it gives you a repayment ratio. That repayment ratio needs to be saved in a variable. Then you know you're going to make a variable for it, right? And then now goes to the last part where it says this ratio is then converted into an RR percentage. You just multiply by 100, and then meaning you're going to need another variable which will be RR percentage. And then how do you calculate it? You just take the repayment ratio, you convert it to 100. You convert it to percentage by multiplying it by 100. Then it gives you the RR percentage. I hope it makes sense. Now this is gonna be maybe the 8th variable. I lost count of the variables. It's gonna be many variables. Then you're gonna need another variable. Here it's gonna depend on how you want to display your things, right? Not necessarily display or what logic do you want to to use behind doing this part here. So remember, there's that part. If you go and watch my latest video on YouTube, you'll see that there's a way of just displaying right to the console without storing the information in a variable, then displaying that variable later. So you'll choose what to do in this case. But then what you need to know, you're gonna use that variable. This is where the selection part comes in, right? The if statement. So you're gonna use that RR percentage to determine the grade of the what of this company or whatever it is. So how do you do that? We're gonna use if statement. How does if work? Well, you're gonna also have to go watch my previous video in order to understand. But then basically, I love the fact that they also did these brackets here to tell which one is included and which one is not included. So here you're gonna use the RR percentage to determine the risk. It's gonna go like in your head. This is just before even coding. So here it means like if the RR percentage is greater or equals to 0 and also less or equals to 10, then the grading on the grade is equals to A, rather in a grade of A. Oh yeah, the grade is equals to A, right? And then if you can do an if else if, it depends. I mean, if else if else if else it's, how can I put it? It's a summary of doing a lot of ifs. On the previous video, I did 3 ifs separately without using the else part. So if else, it's doing the exactly same thing but in a summarized way. I don't know if you get my point. Instead of doing an if, then and if and if and if. In this case, we're gonna have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 ifs if you're doing them separately. But when you are using if else, you might just do 4 ifs, and then the other condition will fall under the else. Yes, but then in this case, I'm going to explain in a manner where you're using the ifs separately, not using the else part. Because it's just going to be if the percentage is greater or equals to 0 and less or equals to 10, then the grade equals to A. And then if the percentage is greater than 10 but less or equals to 15, then is B. And then the third if the percentage is greater than 15 or less or equals to 20, then C. Then if the percentage is greater than 20 or less or equals to 25, then D. And then if the percentage is greater than 25, then R. So you see, you're gonna have 5 if statements. There's nothing wrong with doing that. The only thing they will tell you, they won't even penalize you. You're gonna get all you're supposed to get your marks correct by just doing those 5 ifs. But then I think a good approach would be using the else ifs, if else, whatever else, if else. I mean, if you understand. If you don't understand it, then don't do it. Just use the ifs separately, and then as long as your conditions are correct, they don't overlap on one of the ifs, then your program should run correctly. So yeah. But then once again, if you want to understand this part clearly, just go watch my previous video, please, and then maybe you will understand what I mean by what I meant by explaining this part. So, but then that's all for this thing. It's not complicated, guys, not even. And also this is the important part here. Your system must simply output the grade. They don't want you to output the disposable income, monthly installment, monthly total expenses, the repayment ratio, or even the RR percent. They want the only this grading. So your output at the end of the day your program should output the grading only, not those money stuff there at the top. Only either A, B, C, D, or R. So yeah, your system must not provide any additional whatsoever. That's fine. And also just make sure that when you enter these things, your program outputs A. So yeah, when you enter 200k, 5k, 50, what is it here? 5k, 50k, and then your program, when it calculates, the disposable income will be this, monthly will be this, total expense will be this, RR will be this, converted will be this, and then the grading will be A. So this helps you to know that your program, it does calculate the correct things or not. So also, yeah, do take note of that. Anyways, that's the end of this video. If you didn't understand any of what I said, then I, because most of you, it's not that you don't know what to do, how to code. It's actually translating, getting to understand the information that is given to you, and how you're gonna translate it to coding. You know how, you know what code or what keyword to use to read inputs from the user, but you don't know which inputs you're gonna be using based on the scenario. I don't know which one are you. Either you're struggling with taking information and then converting it to coding, right? Or actually getting, understanding what is needed on the scenario, but then struggling with the keywords. Like, okay, you don't know how if statement works, but you know that you're supposed to use the percentage to determine which one is correct here, right? But you don't know how the if statement works. I don't know which one is you, but I feel like I've explained. Here I was explaining the part where you don't know how to translate this scenario to coding, or at least think of it in a coding manner. Yeah, and then if you want to know how to take it, that information that you've understood in a coding manner, and actually put it into coding, and then declare variables, do your manipulations, assignment, initialization, and all those things, then you should go watch the videos on YouTube now. You're gonna be just fine, I think. Otherwise, yeah, that's it, and then yeah, that's it. Enjoy, guys.